Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to the landing. I am thrilled to introduce a special multi-episode series featuring Down East Coast Guard veterans who were stationed at Cape Lookout, men whose service and stories are woven into the fabric of our coastal heritage. Today's episode is one that truly feels like home. Our guest is a much-loved Coast Guard veteran whose life took a remarkable turn when he was stationed at Cape Lookout, a place that shaped his future. What began in the tobacco fields of North Carolina led him to the coast, where the rhythm of our tides, the strength of our community, and the beauty of Down East living became part of who he is. And I have to say, I'm especially grateful for that journey because it brought him right here to Harker's Island. From honoring his roots to preserving his family's history, he has become a treasured part of this community and a living bridge between past and present. I'm so excited for you to hear his story, one of service, one of place, and one of finding where you truly belong. Hello and welcome back to the landing. We are thrilled to have this gentleman with us. I have known him a long time, and I've loved him all that time too. Yep, since I was wee high. Please go ahead and tell us your name and who's your crowd and where you're from, sir.
My name is Joseph Thomas Beasley. I was born March the 6th of 1937 in Stump Sound Township, Onslow County, outside of Jacksonville. My parents was tenant farmers. I was the number 12th child out of 19 children that they had.
Wow.
My dad moved from different places at times where he could find farms to tend, and growing up was quite a job to try to stay up with the crops. And many mornings we saw that sun coming up before we headed into the fields. But anyway, I found out as I grew up that farming was not for me. I knew there had to be a better way of life somewheres. So I started thinking about what I would like to do. And one thing was I wanted to find a job that I could work for 20 years and retire at an early age. And that I did. I had a brother that was about 15 months older than I. He joined the Coast Guard in early 54. And as he went to his reserve meetings, he wanted me to ride with him down at Wilmington. And so we were living in Pender County at the time near Burgaw, a place called Combs's Bridge. So as I went to the reserve meeting with him, I got to know the guys down there and saw what was going on. And it occurred to me that the Coast Guard was the avenue I've been looking for to get out of the tobacco fields and corn fields and bean fields and picking cucumbers and all of that stuff on the farm. So on April 13th of 54, I signed up for the Coast Guard Reserves. I was sworn in and started going to my meetings. And in July of 54, the Coast Guard Reserve sent me to Cape May, New Jersey for 2 weeks of reserve training. There was 5 of us boys out of the reserve unit that went up there at the time, and I had never been out of the county that much and haven't seen no big cities. But anyway, I got to see some on that trip to New Jersey, and I liked what I saw up there. I went through my 2 weeks of training and came back to the reserve unit and volunteered to sign up active duty. And this I did on October the 25th of 54, I was sworn in active duty Coast Guard, and they sent me back to Cape May for 3 months of reserve training. I was assigned to Company Able 23, and Valerie was our company commander. I went through boot camp, and when I got out of boot camp in February, I think it was, in 55, I asked to come back to North Carolina. There was 5 of us boys from North Carolina that requested to come back. 4 of them got sent back to North Carolina. They went to the Mendota out of Wilmington, and I was sent to the 9th Coast Guard District, and on the plane I went.
Wow.
And when we landed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I got off the plane. I wanted to get back on it and go back wherever I came from because it was minus 20 degrees below zero at the time.
Gracious.
And light snowing. And that wasn't my kind of weather.
That was not North Carolina.
That was not North Carolina.
I'm going to pause you real here. In boot camp, the months that you were in Cape May, New Jersey, that's bad weather too, isn't it?
That was very bad weather. We've had 2-3 foot of snow. Yep. And I'll never forget that. I may come back to that a little bit later.
I would love for you to. So you were in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Whew.
I had to get a cab, had the address where the ship was at that I had to report to, and that was right down in the coal docks there. I'll never forget the address, 601 East Greenfield Avenue.
It's ingrained in your brain.
Yep, I'll never forget it. By the way, I was going to mention that my reserve service number was 2016-484. And when you go in the military, they assign you a service number not to forget.
Is that like your name pretty much from there on? Do you have to give that number a lot?
Well, that's your record is recorded, 2016-484. That's reserved. But when I went into active duty, my service number was 314572.
Wow.
Wow. But anyway, I was on the ship there in Milwaukee, and I got my first trip out to sea, you might say, on the lake. And we got word to go out and retrieve a Navy weather balloon that had gone down. And the wind was blowing right strong when we went out. And there were 3 or 4 of us that was there new on the ship. And those long ground swells out there, we were enjoying the ride up and down. The next thing I knew, every one of us was in the bathroom seasick. That was the first time I've ever got seasick.
Oh, and that's bad.
And I wanted to get back on land quick.
Yes. Oh, it's terrible.
But anyway, I spent a year up there, and I got to know a good friend of mine that, I got to know him there, a boy named Lloyd Hirsch, and he kind of, knowing that I was a young boy right out of the farm, and his father had a 900-acre farm in North Dakota. But anyway, he kind of took me under his wings, and we stayed in contact all during my service career. But from the Coast Guard cutter Hollyhawk was the name of the ship that I was on up there. And from that, I got orders to be transferred to Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii. And so that sounded pretty good to me. Get away from all that cold weather.
Yes.
And so away I went to Hawaii. I got out there, and I was assigned to the Coast Guard cutter Buttonwood, WAGL 306. And that was a good 2 years tour of duty.
Not a lot of snow in Hawaii, right?
No snow. We saw a lot of sweat out there. But the Buttonwood was assigned right after I got on it. See, it was the 13th of April that we sailed out of Honolulu, heading for the Samoan Islands in the South Pacific. So we got to see a lot of the islands in the South Pacific that had Loran stations on them, and we had to refurbish some of those Loran stations. And while I was on the Buttonwood, got a chance to go to Guam and Okinawa, Japan, and it was a good tour of duty.
Now, what is a Loran station?
Back then, they didn't have the GPS like they have now,
Mm-hmm.
and these Loran stations sent out a signal,
Okay.
and vessels at sea can pick up those signals
Mm-hmm.
and cross references, and they show their position where they're at.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
used for
Interesting.
navigation.
Okay.
And I left the Buttonwood in February of '58, and I got assigned to Fort Macon Coast Guard Station.
Mm-hmm. I know that place.
And that was new to me because I've really never heard that much about Fort Macon. But anyway, I found out right much about it after I got here. And when I got to Fort Macon, they reassigned me to Cape Lookout Lifeboat Station.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was in April of '58 that I went to Cape Lookout.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed, I'll mention this, some of the older people may remember it, but when we came on the island coming across that old wooden bridge, coming down the highway, we had to go down to the end of Shell Point to meet the small boat to take us out to the Cape Lifeboat Station. As coming down the island, I noticed that there was 3 or 4 people walking down the highway. They wasn't walking on the shoulders, they was walking on the highway. And when a car was coming along, they would stop and look and see if they could see who it was, I guess.
Oh, wow.
But I remember that very well because some of the boys in the car made a remark about it.
Uh-huh.
Says people down here walk right in the highway. They don't like to get off the road.
Yeah, probably not a lot of cars over here anyway.
No.
Yeah.
That's why they wanted to see who it was, I guess. But anyway, I got sent out to Cape Lookout, and all of this was new to me because I had been on seagoing vessels up to that time. Mm-hmm. And the crew that was out there when I got there was Harold Yeomans was the officer in charge. Martin Brooks was the assistant officer in charge. Reese Johnson was the engineer in charge. And some of the other crew members that I recall was Thurman Ellis from, he married a girl from Otway. Mm-hmm. And there was a boy named Lingerfelt. Sterling Gilligan was out there. A boy named Mayo from Mobile, Alabama. Carlos Hennett was out there with us. Keith Moore was stationed out there with us at the time. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we had a good crew. Well, it turns out that I was an engineman, so part of my duty was taking care of the equipment that we had, and part of that equipment was the emergency generator down at the lighthouse. So I had to go down there and check that out. We try to check it out just about every day. So it was on a Saturday morning, July the 4th of '58, that old Dodge Power Wagon and myself, we headed towards the lighthouse to check that out. And on the way there was 3 young girls, I think it was, stopped me and wanted to know if they could go up to the top of the lighthouse. At that time, we were allowed to escort people up to the top. Oh, wow. So I welcomed the opportunity to escort them to the top of the lighthouse. They got in the back of that old truck, and we got to the lighthouse, and to the top we went. On the way back down, we got to the bottom, and we stood outside, and we talked for a little bit. One of the girls had long red hair down to her waist, and she had it in 2 ponytails at the time. And as we departed, I reached over and yanked on those 2 ponytails, and she squealed. And they went on their way, and I went on back to the station and continued to do whatever I had to do at the time. And that was the last that I heard anything about her. But during the next 7 or 8 weeks or so, I kept getting word from the boys going on Liberty, coming back to the station, telling me that there was a senior from East Carolina University wanted to meet that black-haired guy at the Cape. And I didn't pay much attention to it. And at first, I didn't know what black-haired guy there was talking about because there's 2 or 3 out there. But anyway, it turned out that on August the 28th, I went on Liberty and I stopped by and saw Rosita, and she told me that the girl that had been wanting to meet me was right down the road at Ann Johnson's house. They were making candy of some kind. And she would take me down there if I wanted to go see her. I says, why not? I got nothing else to do. So
Now, at this time, did you know it was the same girl? Okay.
I did not know it
Didn't
was
know.
the same one. I didn't know who it was.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, I went down there. It wasn't very far down the road, and Rosita got out of the car and she went in the house where they were at making candy. And directly here come 4 or 5 girls running out of the house. And this red-headed girl that I saw at the Cape was leading the pack. And she came up to the car. And when I looked at her, and I said, it's you, that girl that I took up in the lighthouse that's been trying to get in touch with me. I said, I thought you were just a young girl. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
So you had no idea she was a senior in college?
I had no idea that she was that old. Uh-huh. But anyway, we talked for a little bit, and then I asked because they wanted to go for a ride. And by the way, the vehicle I had at that time, a friend from the Cape, a boy named Lingerfeld, had a 49 Oldsmobile, and he was kind enough to let me use his car. And so anyway, they wanted to go for a ride, so every one of them jumped in the car. And so we headed off, went over the bridge and down through Straits and around, rode for about an hour and came back. And they all got out but her, and we sat there and talked for a bit. Mm-hmm. We made our first date, and it all started from that. As Hannah and I started dating, I guess after a month and a half or so, we decided that we really loved each other and we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. So we decided that we would get married. When marriage was mentioned, Hannah looked at me and says, well, you got to ask my mother and my father if it's okay for us to get married. I says, okay, I can do that. Well, it turns out that when I asked Hannah's mother, Georgia Bell Nelson, that Hannah and I decided to get married and wanted to know if it would be okay with her. And she says, yes, it would, but you've got to do one thing. I says, what's that? She handed me a Book of Mormon and says, read it.
Oh, wow.
And I says, I can do that. And that's where I got really introduced and going into learning about the Mormon Church. But anyway, I had to go to her father, Horace Nelson. Well, it turns out that was on a Saturday afternoon, and he was trying to watch a ball game on that old tube television that was fading in and out. And I went in. I says, Horace, I need to talk to you. And he says, go ahead and get married. Are you going to do what you want to do anyway? He knew what I was going to ask him. After that, I thanked them all for letting me have their daughter. And
so how much longer was it before you got married?
Maybe 6 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm. You got married. Where did you get married?
In Horace and George's living room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
And I had signed over for 6 more years in the Coast Guard and got a re-enlistment bonus. And I got enough bonus to go buy a 1957 Ford Fairlane 500, a 2-door hardtop.
Oh, wow.
And that's the first car that we had
mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
together.
I love it.
thankful to get rid of that old 49 Oldsmobile.
Love it. Wow. And so how many years later are you now? I put it you on the spot.
November the 28th, we'll celebrate our 68th wedding anniversary.
That's amazing. I love it.
I didn't realize that when we started dating that things was going to end up like it did, but
right.
I'm thankful that it did.
Oh yeah, we are too, because Hannah Ray got you to stay here, and so we get to know you and love you.
And little did I know at the time I crossed that bridge the first time coming on the island that I would remain the rest of my life here.
Yeah, with those people that walk in the road.
From those people walking in the road, they had to look out for them.
Oh yeah.
And so, now you got to look out for bicycles in the road.
Yeah, bicycles and golf carts. All right, so jump back to much longer were you at the Cape?
I was out there from April of 58 until February, I think it was, of 59.
Okay.
And then I was transferred to Elizabeth City for 3 months. And then from there, I was sent to Portsmouth base. Mm-hmm. And there I spent probably 4 months there, I guess, thereabout, doing harbor patrol surveillance. Mm-hmm. And that's where I learned to hate salami sandwiches. And but then from there I went out to Lilla Creek Lifeboat Station. Lester Scarborough was the officer in charge there, and he was a very strict guy. And from there I was assigned to the Coast Guard cutter Point Thatcher, which was an 82-footer. Oh wow. It was the first Coast Guard cutter, I understand, that had the gas turbines in it, and it was more or less a trial run for the gas turbines to be put on vessels. Oh wow. And we were told to take that vessel out there in the bay, Chesapeake Bay, and see if we can tear up those engines. Mm-hmm. And that was quite an experience. Yeah, wow. And from that, I was on that for, I guess, 8 months or so, and then I was sent to Chesapeake Lightship, mm-hmm. about 14 miles off the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. Wow. And that was some long hours out there on that. Sure. From the Lightship in May of 65, I got orders to go to Cape May, New Jersey, mm-hmm. to the Recruit Training Center, which I welcomed that to get off of that lightship. Yes, I bet so. So when I got up there, I was assigned to work in the garage. Mm-hmm. We had around 50, 55 government vehicles at that time to maintain, along with a lot of other equipment on the base. And that's where I really got introduced to the snowstorms that they have. Yeah. And part of my duties up there was restoring the old vehicles. Mm-hmm. And one of the vehicles that I restored, I remember, was an old dump truck that we needed a dump truck because it had a snow plow in the front of it, and I had to put a whole new cab on it and overhaul the engine. And in fact, I got a letter of appreciation from the captain of the base at that time for all the work that I did there. Oh, wow. On the base. That's awesome. But that was a 4-year tour of duty. And from there, I got orders in 69. I asked to go to Alaska. I hadn't been up there. But anyways, when my orders came in, it was to go back to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So I welcome that. Mm-hmm. And that gave Hannah and my boys a chance to get to Hawaii. Yep. Yeah. So by now you're married, and you mentioned you have 2 sons. Right. Right. So they get to go with you. That's awesome. So I went back to Hawaii, and there I was assigned to base Sand Island down at the boat docks, and I was certified as a SAR coxswain, search and rescue coxswain, to answer calls as needed. Oh, wow. for people in distress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there until January the 10th of 70. And I was then reassigned to go aboard the Coast Guard cutter Mellon, 378-foot cutter.
Ooh.
The Mellon had received orders to go to Vietnam.
Wow.
And they needed an engineman on that to go with it. And I was the lucky one to get that, which I really didn't want at the time, but now I'm grateful that I did.
Yeah.
And so I was on the Mellon until 71. I got rotated back here to the States, and I got orders to go to a buoy boat in Portsmouth, Virginia. But en route, I got a notice that my orders had been changed to report directly to Ocracoke Coast Guard Station.
Wow.
And the reason my orders got changed was the officer in charge at Coast Guard Station Ocracoke was a boy named Eugene Gray. We had been stationed together before, and he saw where I was heading to Portsmouth. And he had a family member that was a commander in the Coast Guard. He called him and told him he wanted that Beasley guy to come to Ocracoke.
Oh, wow.
And that's
How about
when
that?
I got stationed over there.
I love it.
And I stayed at Ocracoke until 73. And there was a boy stationed on the Coast Guard cutter Laurel here at Fort Macon that I knew. In fact, I got to know him. I forgot to mention that I was stationed at sea level. Few people realized there was a Coast Guard station at sea level.
Didn't know that. Where was it?
When you go into sea level, just past the sea level end, there's a dock out there. That was a Coast Guard dock. And right there on that curve, there was a service station, a barber shop, and a little place for the Coast Guard.
Did not know that.
And I stayed down there for about 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And Clifford Rice, his father, was the barber shop there at that place.
Wow. Didn't know that.
And another thing I failed to mention earlier while I was at the Cape, while I'm thinking about it, I'll mention that, is I want to say it was in September of 58, we had a hurricane to come through. Hurricane Helena. And myself, Marty Brooks, and another boy, I can't remember who was with us, but we was assigned to get on that 30-footer and go to Marshallburg and tie up in Marshallburg and be on standby in case we was needed during the hurricane to assist somebody.
Oh, wow.
And thankfully we didn't have to go out.
Yes.
But I'll never forget that.
Yeah, wow. So when you left Ocracoke, you went...
When I left Ocracoke, a boy named Danny Taylor was stationed on the Laurel.
Okay. Coast
Guard cutter Laurel. And we exchanged duties. He was the same rating that I was, and at that time we were allowed to change duties. And so I went to the Laurel at Fort Macon, and he went to Ocracoke. And the reason I wanted to come to Fort Macon, I was getting ready to retire, and I had started building my home.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to be close by where I could, work on that over evenings and things.
Yeah.
Which that worked out good. And on the Laurel, I had requested my retirement. That's been approved to retire the 31st of October of 74. And the summer of 74, after I had started my home, they came to me. The engineering officer was a man named Gary Alston. And we had been stationed together before on the Chesapeake Lightship. And he come to me. The ship had received orders to be transferred to Alaska.
Wow.
And at that time, I didn't want to go to Alaska.
Mm-mm.
But he came to me and told me if I would cancel my retirement and help take the ship around to Alaska, that the captain that I had been approved to receive an E7 grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I thought about it, and I didn't want to leave my home for a couple of years.
No.
And I had to agree to extend my duty for another 2 years. And so I retired on October the 31st of 54.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. And so, where was your home finished? How much after that?
We moved in our home in 75, I think it was.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Because that's the only home I know for you. I was born in 72.
Right.
So, yep, you've been there.
And
Love it.
when I got out of the Coast Guard, I went to work with the. I retired on a Friday, and Monday morning I went to work with Carteret County Recreation Department,
Mm-hmm.
and I built Sweetson Park in Moorhead.
Oh, wow.
That was just in a process of being established. I built those ball fields and things over there, and Freedom Park in Beaufort.
Wow. That are still being enjoyed by thousands.
Well, Freedom Park, I don't know about that. When I went down there a couple of weeks ago just to see, and I didn't see no park. All I saw was houses.
There, it's still back there.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Now, I will agree with you that I went summer before last and almost didn't find it because I got so lost in the housing development that's back there. But yes, it is back there.
Well, I told Hannah, I says, let's get out of here. I don't see no park back here.
Yep. When I went in, I made the mistake of going left, and when you get into there, you need to go right. But I eventually found it. I was trying to meet someone back there, and you're right. There's a lot of houses back there.
There is.
Yeah.
But I had a good 20 years in the Coast Guard. Mm-hmm. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. Of course, there was times when I wished I was back home, but
right. Yeah.
And
But so you never missed the cornfields, tobacco fields. You never missed that.
No. I tell you, it gets hot in a tobacco field and in a cornfield.
Oh yeah.
And everything a farmer makes, they deserve every cent of it.
Mm-hmm. It's not for the weak or weak of heart anyway.
Yes.
No. Well, we appreciate you coming and sharing this part of your life, and it's been so much fun to learn about you. As I mentioned, I've always looked up to you. I've always enjoyed being around you and hearing you and learning from you, but this was a part that I didn't know a whole lot about. So thank you.
I may mention also when I was stationed at Cape Lookout, there was probably 50 or more feet or yards of land between the lighthouse and the water in the channel.
That's crazy.
There used to be a road between the lighthouse and the channel.
That's amazing.
Drive down.
Because now it's not there. Mr. Guyan mentioned about playing softball out there, like having enough room to do that.
Well, while we were out there, we would play football a lot. Mm-hmm. And this Mayo guy I mentioned from Mobile, Alabama, we were playing football one afternoon out there, and the ball was laying down. The team had carrying the ball was in huddle. He was out there with the bow and arrow, and he zeroed in on the football and shot his arrow right through that football.
Oh my goodness!
He says, "I guess I'll end your game."
Oh my, yeah, because you didn't have another one, probably.
No.
Oh my goodness! Well, good thing he was a good shot.
Yeah. I just thought of another incident at Cape Lookout. If you want to hear that,
I would definitely.
It was the summer of 58 that every so often the district engineers come around for district inspection. Mm-hmm. And Thurman Ellis had a 49 Chrysler there at the station, and we would use that to ride up and down the beach on. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, before the inspection team came a few weeks before, some of the crew, I'm not sure just who the instigators were, decided to make some corn liquor. And they had it. And when the inspectors were coming, they couldn't have that on the station. Mm-hmm. So they put it in the back seat of that Chrysler, or that Chrysler, and they parked that out there at the edge of the station in the bushes but it turns out that they had the windows down on it, so air would circulate through the vehicle. During the inspection, the inspection party noted that there was a peculiar smell in the air. It just happened so that the wind was coming right over top of that Chrysler towards the station.
That's right.
And I don't know whether they ever figure out what was going on or not.
That is funny.
But we thought that was kind of funny ordeal that took place while they were here.
That is funny. Really is.
We passed inspection.
You passed inspection. Well, that's what mattered at that time. Well, again, thank you for your service. Thank you for everything, all that you continue to add to the Down East community. And I love you.
We love you too, Stacey. We appreciate what you're doing. This will live for many years, what you're doing for future generations.
Well, I sure hope so. And coming from you, who definitely loves genealogy and history, I appreciate that.
You're certainly welcome.
Thank you again for joining us to The Landing. This podcast is brought to you by the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. Tune in next week as we continue learning, sharing, and remembering together. If you'd like to hear more, check out our previous episodes where you get your podcasts. If you or someone you know is interested in being on The Landing, please reach out through the link in the description. Until then, stay safe and be kind.